Okay, yes, we're live. Okay, Mr. Talib, you're welcome. You're welcome. Hello, how are you doing? So, while we're waiting for some other set of other people to come online, I think some of us that are already here, we can just send a reminder out to some of our colleagues that are not aware that it's time. Just a brief reminder, so we can all collectively do this together. Okay, you're welcome. I can see about 4 people online. Young Josh, you're welcome. Akmuyo, you're welcome on board. Let's all do this together, please. Maybe in the next 2 minutes, I will get to do a run through on what we have for today. I know we've all been anticipating, and everyone is all excited in the sense that we're having one of the best set of humans that is celebrated amidst us, that is in the profession of architecture in Nigeria. Yeah. Studio 23, welcome on board. Okedele Sunday, welcome on board. Please just quickly send a reminder. Let's all collectively do this together to ensure that we are all on board. I'm sure it's really going to be an interesting session. Okay, I have like 1 minute left before I begin to give a digest. Yeah. Okay. Okay. The numbers are increasing gradually. Okay, okay. OV style, please guys, let's see how well we can intimidate others. That's just the best thing, so we can all come collectively, because this is really going to be amazing. I'm also anticipating sincerely, as much as we are all anticipating this. I'm also curious to hear what Baba, I have to call him Baba, yes. He has to say. We are here to actually draw from his wealth of knowledge and leverage on some 1 or 2 experiences, because definitely I know 1 hour is not enough. But we hope to make the best of it, and hopefully if Abasta gives us more room to have him come online some other time, definitely would maximize it. Okay, going straight proper. Now, there are lots of things to learn, but we're trying to streamline the whole concept down such that we actually pick things that really connect with us, and we can siphon what basically would relate with our context now. Now, myself and all team members, Pulcher team members, we were doing some background researches, and we had to even consult some professionals in the industry about some slight problems we have been noticing in the system. And basically, it's about a disconnect. We have a disconnect whereby we were able to group them in 3 generations. That is the first generations, where we have about those that are veterans in the industry that have spent over 3 decades, or maybe even 4 decades in the profession. And also we have the second generation where we have those that are actually practicing, that have spent between 20 to 25 years in the industry, and we have the third generation. And I believe this third generation happens to be those that have spent between 0 to 10 years in the industry. So basically, what we are all after is to what we are all after is to see how well we can bridge the gap where there's a disconnect, and we're looking at how well we can bring about a connection, how we can um, ensure that there is a bonding between people in the industry. So these are some things that we're looking at getting to do. Yes. Um, Hopefully, we hope the best will come out of this. We hope the best will come out of this. So some of the questions that we intend asking, we want to know how the practice of architecture actually came about. You understand? You will notice that the theme for this event is returning to the roots. So how the practice of architecture was at that time, how the foundations were being laid, because I strongly believe that it's about we passing batons, over to each other, and it will be unethical. It will be somewhat not well coordinated for us to just start our own architecture based on how we have just met it. It's good that we make reference, and some of us back in school then these were the essence. Those were the essence why we had some courses like history of architecture. So these are some things that we're looking at, such that when the spotlight gets to be on us, we can make the practice and the perception of architecture way better than we have actually met it. We know that there are a lot of surrounding factors. We know that there are quite a number of surrounding problems that we are faced with, but um, how we can strive as better architects in spite of the challenges that we are faced with in this dispensation. These are some things that I want us to all, pay rapt attention to. And if you have your writing parts, bring them out. Make sure you just jot some things down. This is a rare privilege. So shortly, I'll be all right. Yes, about that. Now, our guest speaker, Baba, is over 83 years old. Really amazing. And within the past few days that I have been connecting with him, I learned a lot. You know, Being that old, Baba was willing to actually learn how to navigate the Instagram interface. It was really amazing, and he took note of all the details that he was given, and we were able to connect. However, the little constraints that we now encounter, the Nigerian factor, Baba is in a location where the network is not all that too strong and powerful. However, it was a struggle to actually ensure that while we're test running things, that the communication, live communication was, intact. So we as a team had to look at it, that what is the most important thing here? Is it about having you guys see Baba, which I would have personally loved to, but I think the information that we have to draw from Baba, the most important thing that we should actually focus on. So for the purpose of this, you guys will be seeing my, I say boring face now anyway, no. But you guys will be seeing me, but you'll be hearing Baba's voice live connected with us. And also, guys, if you have questions, that you're looking at asking, please you can drop your questions in the comment section so I can actually note that. And if there is an opportunity, maybe one or two persons can also come in live to communicate with Baba. All right, so I'll be pushing a phone call through shortly. Okay. Please give me a second. Okay, so guys, I believe you can hear me. You can just drop some one or two things in the comment section. Hello, sir.
Hello.
It's
Hello.
good. Hello, sir. Hello, sir. Yes,
hello.
yes, Baba. It's good to have you live on the Pulcher webinar session, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir. So guys, Baba is live, and briefly, I'll be doing a run through Baba's profile. I would say this. This is a lot to take in. This is a lot to take in, and but I will try my only to capacity to actually major on. Baba has actually he has a lot of feathers to his cap, if I'll put it that way. Professor E.A Adeyemi, popularly referred to as the grandfather of architecture in Nigeria. His professional and university teaching career spans over a period of 44 years. 36 of which have been devoted to teaching, research, and university administration. He was the first chairman of the Board of Education, Research and Technology, African Union of Architects between 1985 and 1986, during which he completed a survey of architectural education in Africa and authored the publication of the report sponsored by AUA and UNESCO. A nominated speaker at the African World Congress of the International Union of Architects in Cairo, 1985. He was also a key participant Conference on Architectural Education in the Islamic world organized in Granada, Spain. That was in April 1986. He has held several awards, which include Fellowship of the United States Agency for International Development, USAID, and of the African American Institute, AAI, over a period of active academic pursuits spanning 33 years before retirement. He has mentored several junior colleagues who have later become senior academics, including professors. In the time spent in Zaria and Akure, he has supervised hundreds of master's degree theses, more than 12 PhD theses, two of which are in universities outside Nigeria, namely Cambridge University and the University Dundee, Scotland. So we have a lot of, I cannot exhaust this. I cannot exhaust this. Sir, once again, it's so good to have you online. Would like to hear you say one or two things before we go straight into the session directly, sir.
Thank you very much for this call. I really appreciate all that you said about me, and I do look forward more to interaction between us. I don't know what else I can add to what you said about me. I think all that you said is true, and I don't have to repeat it all over again. Yes, I think this would be all I can say for now.
Okay, sir. All right, sir. Okay, going straight to our questions. Yes, guys, again, if you have questions, please just make sure you get to drop them so I can see them and quickly treat them urgently. Now, sir, would like you to give us a little run through on how coming and growing up as an architect back in the 70s and 80s was like, and literally of this to extract the essence of this is to extract fundamentals needed as young architects or as architects in the industry in our career pursuits, sir.
Well, in the 70s and the 80s, I've been involved in architectural teaching. Well, this is, as far as practice is concerned, I didn't have much to do with practice. Although I started a practice of my own on the, prompting of graduate students. And that was in the late 60s or early 70s. Early 70s. Yes, I started the farm of Ashcon. And I didn't stay with them, but I was familiar with all that was going on in the farm. Apart from this experience, my experience has been devoted to architectural teaching and research. Now, when I started in the 70s with my architectural teaching, I discovered that we were still going on the old syllabus, architectural syllabus. And it was a time, from the mid-60s, that's about 66 and so on, there had been this urge, or, the urge by students of architecture to introduce some changes into the curriculum of architecture, especially at the Ahmadu Bello University. There was this incentive. And at the time I was going into architectural teaching, and that was in the early 70s, I discovered that, some changes had been initiated, although not far-reaching enough. Changes to ensure that there was a change in architectural teaching from the RIDA to that kind of training. In fact, at this time, the training in architecture was mainly on part-time basis. It wasn't the education, architecture education at that time was not properly integrated into the university system. The RIDA was operating all this part-time, involvement in architectural education. The A.A school in England was about to be, the most stable school of architecture at that time, with the motivation to have changes in architecture. Although essentially it was based on the Beaux-Arts type of architectural education, and that was how it was. But at the time I got to Zaria, can I continue?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We are on. We can all hear you, sir.
Okay. By the time I got to Zaria, these changes were about taking place. And in fact, the changes have taken place already through the initiative of the students at that time. But when I got to Zaria, it was, I think it was at the time they required somebody of my stature who understood all the changes and so on. And they required somebody of my stature to be able to implement the changes that were being nurtured, that were being proposed to take place in architecture. And that was the role I had to play, in the 70s and into the 80s. Especially when I took over as the head of the Department of Architecture, from 1974 and to 1986, when I moved down to the south at the Federal University of Technology, Akure.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Thank you very much for that. So, just like I was saying before we called Baba, it's one of the few things I picked while Baba was talking is being able to understand a system and seeing how well you can position yourself such that you can be an instrument of change. Yes. And that's one core thing that I was able to actually siphon among some other things. Then also, sir, there is this feeling, you know, we the young minds of this dispensation, we feel that life was really simple back then, and compared to how life is now, we want you to give us your own take on that, because some of us just look at it and know that life was really simple back then in the 80s. The only thing that might have been a challenge was the fact that they had to draft. So I think it would be good to hear what you have to say on that, sir.
Yeah, that's on the present structure
Exactly, sir.
of architectural training. Yeah, yeah. Well, it's although there were changes being introduced at that time, well, these changes were not far-reaching enough. So that when I took over as the head of department of the school, you know, in the school, I discovered that a lot had to be done. A lot had to be done, and of course, it was at the time also when we had some foreigners teaching architecture in the Zaria school.
Wow.
People like Professor Perez had come. You know, others had also come after him. Very radical people, especially for his parents, who came from Oregon State University. We learned a lot from him. And when I took over as the head of the department, after he had departed, I had to follow the same tempo that they had left. You know, that is introducing innovations in architectural education. And the innovations that I carried out at that time form the basis of I'm sorry, well, I'm not sorry, but I'm proud to say this, that the changes that I introduced at that time form the basis of the NUC benchmark.
Wow.
The architectural education.
Wow.
Later.
Wow.
You know, we by the time I got to Zaria, you know, we had introduced some changes into the nomenclature of some of these courses, like building construction, for instance. We call it building components and methods, which spells out exactly what was happening. Building components and methods. And even architectural design itself, you know, the manner in which it was being taught, and which relied on the year master kind of relationship, student kind of relationship, was the emphasis. You know, the manner of teaching too. For instance, if you were to teach structures, you just didn't quote the theoretical aspect of the thing. When you're talking about, you know, issues like compressive strength, tensile strength, shear strength, and things like that, you know, it has to be demonstrated. It has to be demonstrated by the staff, you know, and we had to prepare handouts.
Wow.
Handouts that would kind of guide the student as to how he has to go about it. For instance, we were talking about structures.
Yes, sir.
Now, now you mentioned somebody like Frederick Tito, who was the staff teaching it at that time. You know, under me. You know, he would write out what the student had to do, like an experiment.
Okay.
For instance, take a balsa wood. Balsa wood is still, you know, very much together there. Take a balsa wood and bend it, and you have to record, you know, what you have seen, for instance.
Wow.
The areas that are under tensile stress, areas that are under compressive stress and things like that. You know, you have to make observations and things like that. So it wasn't just a question of memory work. No, there's no memory work there. You just have to look at the thing, take in wood and bend it and see how the reactions are. Those areas under tension, those areas under compression, and then what we mean by shear and so on. All these are demonstrated, and then there will be an assignment at the end of it all, asking you to do certain things. You know, that we tend to explain more what all these issues really mean. You know, that was good. You know, but I think what is happening now is that people have resorted to memory work. You know, you have something stress, you know, compressive stress, that is areas under, you know, compression. You know, the forces are compressed and things like that. You have to memorize this rather than see it demonstrated. You know. So, and the same thing with design. They give you a handout for design, and they will first of all tell you a story. For instance, if you want to design a school, you know, the handout will first of all, you know, state what is expected of you. You know, try and demonstrate, for instance, you know, in the write-up, you know, what a school really is, and so on. And then they will begin to now ask you to do certain things. And then the time for submission will also be stated and all that. So that you have a guide in form of a write-up. And there is no mistaking what the teacher wants you to do. Because it's all clearly stated and it's giving some demonstration, you know, and then this is followed up by some research work and so on. You have to make some investigations and so on. You know, all that have been deficient. You know, presently, we don't seem to have, a teacher will just give you, for instance, you know, the subject that you have to design, and then he will let you have submission day. Although you're expected to see the teacher from time to time, most students don't even see the teacher. They just continue with their design work and things like that, and suddenly there is time for submission. So that is what is happening now. But you know, when we look at the structure of architecture education, we are still following the earlier pattern, the Beaux-Arts, you know, pattern, just design and emphasis on design, you know, the beautiful design, you know, that kind of thing, rather than the practicality of your design, you know, that kind of thing. But I think this is the instructor look into this a bit more carefully. You know, you have a jury, you know, rather than the one man assessment kind of structure, where the year master is the beginning and the end. You know, for these days, you have a jury, for instance, for design. The jury would comprise, you know, staff who are picked either by the head department or somehow, you know, you just have a group of people who will look at the student's presentation. Each student will be allowed to do his presentation verbally, you know, and then there are comments made and all that kind of thing, you know, rather than a one-man kind of judgment coming on. So you have a jury, and each one would express his or opinions about what the student has done, things like that, you know. So, but there isn't much change, really. There isn't much change. The only change that one can see is the use of the computer. You know, the use of the computer has created quite a lot of impact on architectural design. you know. But then the use of the computer has its own problems, you know. And what we are even saying these days is that we should not allow the students to rely too much on the use of the computer because, well, as some people say, it tends to reduce your ability to think, you know. Personally, for instance, I believe that your imagination flows through your hands onto the drawing board. If you know what I mean by
Very
that.
well, very well, sir. Very well, sir.
That is, it's your fingers holding the pencil, you know, tend to express how you think, you know, rather than the computer, you know, doing this expression for you. And you seeing what the computer has produced, you know. But the design process where you have to think and then you have to use your pencil to be able to express what you think. Hello?
Yes, sir. I'm with you, sir.
Okay, yeah. Yeah. So the computer has been overused. And this had you know, definitely ability to think. And they say that, well, they always say that what to think or what to put into the computer is what the computer gives you as a result. That is true. So the quality of our thoughts, the quality of the thought, because you have to rely on the computer, seems to be reducing. But some people think otherwise, that the computer has enabled the ability to think beyond the natural.
Yes, sir.
You know, you are not only dealing with lines anymore, you are dealing with curves, you are dealing with all sorts of shapes and things like that.
Yes, sir.
Shapes that normally
Parametric
you
forms.
wouldn't be able to think about reading. You know, that kind of thing. So the computer has enabled a lot, but for the purpose of teaching, for the purpose of education, overemphasis on the computer may not be right. I think people should be made to think more first before they start using the computer. You know. Yeah. Okay, let me stop there. And,
Okay.
Maybe I can.
Thank you so much for that. It's good that you were able to reiterate the fact that it is a tool, but creativity doesn't flow from a computer. It is a tool that helps enhance creativity, and that's one core thing that we're able to hold on to from the aspect of the generational advancement. And also, I believe guys out there, from Baba's breakdown, you'll be able to know how systemic the system was then, how they were exposed to experiments. You don't just do the garbage in, garbage out thing. They were exposed to a lot of practical things. There was more of a connection with between architecture and emotion and feelings. And that kind of like made the outcome of creativity very, very much unique. So I would say that sir, a lot of questions are really coming in. I'm trying to see how I can. Okay, the question while you were discussing, sir, with what is on ground now, obviously we know that some of us have been. I wouldn't want to say the system is not. The system hasn't tried, but having passed through the system with the way things are now, how can we thrive as young minds? How can we survive in spite of these slight challenges that might have, been some might be something that would, to an extent affect the level at which we come up with outputs.
I'm not sure I understand your question very well, but the way I understand it is, and that's going to affect the way I'm going to respond.
All right, sir.
The go about it. I really,
Okay, should I rephrase the question again, sir?
yes,
Okay, okay. Now, having spoken about how things were as regards, the practice and the teaching precisely of architecture, and the way things really are now, obviously we know that there are lots of problems, and some of us are already products of institutions that are actually using these approaches to teach. So how do we thrive in spite of these problems? I don't know if you have some one or two advices for us in that regard, sir. That was, I don't know if that makes sense now, sir.
Yes, I think, well, basically, architecture is traditionally is more, it's all design. Design, creativity. That is the essence of architecture. And that is what has motivated the manner of teaching architecture. We have moved from the traditional training approach to the education part of it. When you train people how to do things, all over again. But education teaches you not only how to do things, the way it should be done, but it makes you to question what you do, whether you can use some other means of producing creative work. So because the emphasis is on design, well, it doesn't really matter whether you are now using the computer or whether you are using the visual drawing board approach and things like that. As long as the product you are getting is creative design, that is it. But some people are even challenging the idea of the architecture as purely design. And people even say that this is giving the other professions the opportunity to wade into architecture, and challenge the leadership position that the architect holds. Because you have always emphasized design. And I think that architecture is, the way people begin to think now is that architecture goes beyond just design.
Exactly, sir. Exactly, sir.
It goes beyond design.
Yes, sir.
And in fact, it has even affected the curriculum structure.
Yes, sir.
Issues like what can we management comes in. Architecture as business. You have to look at architecture as business. Apart from creating design, apart from making creative design, we also have to see architecture as business. How you are going to sell it, and how you can get financial benefits, from it. And of course, people can break away from this rigid creativity position. Then they'll be able to meet the challenges by these other professions. These other professions who challenge the leadership of the architect in the building industry. They also want to take over. They say, okay, you architects, you are all concerned with design, so go on with your design. We will do the supervision. For instance, the building people, the builders, they don't want to accept the idea that the designer can also supervise his design.
Exactly.
They say, once you design, you just hands off, and then we will come in. That kind of thing. And then you have the other the other professions too, within the same building industry, also challenging that the architect does not know enough to be able to lead the industry. You know, all this, it's because architects have been very complacent and they've act on this idea of design, as if that is the beginning and the end of it all. But apart from design, there are still so many other things. And the architect cannot study everything. That's why the other professions have to come in. That's why they have to come in. But at the same time, we still relinquish, you know, our position as leader. You know. So, and if we are not careful, the architect's role will be eroded to the extent that we would have little or nothing to do anymore. You know. And we have to be very careful here. And our present day students, our present day graduates of architecture, they have to know this, that architecture goes beyond just creative design. It also goes into the managerial aspect of it, the business part of it, you know. And they have to look into this so that they can always have something to do. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I hope does that answer the question?
It goes even way beyond. So it has answered a lot of questions that we are faced with. I had to scribble down some things. That is really amazing. Just to reiterate for some people, okay, we'll watch the playback of the video for some of you. But breaking away from the rigid creativity position, you know, there's more to architecture than we really see it. And if we don't, you know, engage ourselves more, you know, architecture, our position might, you know, really be eroded, like Baba said. So that is one thing. I'm going straight to questions now because I have personal questions here, quite all right. But let me begin to ask some questions from the audience now. Okay, from Yinka Daniel 91. What is the fate of architecture in the nearest future, knowing fully well that there is no division in the professional body, paving way for quacks to take over? I don't know if that makes much. What is the fate of architecture in the nearest future, knowing fully well that there is no division? There is division in the professional body, paving way for quacks to take over. So I don't know if you got that, sir.
Yes. I think we just have to be architects have to adhere very strictly to professionalism. To professionalism. You know, I think we already have an established system of dealing with our clients and all that. And there are laid down rules concerning fees, the charging of fees and all that kind of thing. And as long as we try to be as professional as possible, as long as we are not going into undercutting systems and so on, I think we'll be able to survive in spite of all this invasion by the other professional groups. I think that is very important because it's quite obvious that we have to design anyway. That is the number one thing that we have to do, to design, because without a design, nothing else. When we are talking of the built environment, there is no built environment without a design.
That's true.
Preceding it. Yeah. So I think we still have something to do, but I think we just have to, when it comes to the business side of it, we have to be as professional as possible, so that we don't deviate from the usual architectural practice, professional practice. We have to adhere to this. But once we begin to compromise, In
Mm.
areas of consumer practice, I think we'll have problems.
Mm.
We'll have problems.
Mm.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for that answer, sir. I believe that really settles it. Now, the other question from OV Styles. What is your advice to we the young generation of architects concerning the stepping up and positive changes in Nigeria architecture? Um,
Yeah.
I think the question you answered earlier still connects with this. I don't know if you have one or two things you want to say regarding this again, sir.
Yes. What is architecture, Nigerian architecture? Is it, what is the future for traditional architecture or what?
What is your advice to young generation of architects concerning stepping up and positive changes in the Nigerian architecture? Upgrade and
Taking up positive
yes, sir.
changes
Yes, sir.
in the Nigerian architecture.
Yes, sir.
Because when we talk of Nigerian architecture, there is no Nigerian architecture.
Wow.
Um,
I've been waiting
yeah,
for you to say that, sir.
there is no Nigerian architecture. I think what we have now is we have this classification of traditional architecture, vernacular architecture, and then modern architecture.
Mm.
You know, and that's the classification that we have now. And what is being practiced now is more or less modern architecture.
Mm.
Modern architecture. What we are trying to say is that if we can give Nigerian architecture, or if we can give architecture a Nigerian identity,
Mm. Yes.
then I think that makes meaning. You know, that is, we may have modern architecture, all right.
Yes, sir.
But we must give it the Nigerian
Identity.
You know, in the same manner that Mexico, for instance,
Okay.
you know, have been able to give modern architecture its own identity.
Mm.
You know,
Mm.
and I think we can do this, and we can do it through a proper understanding of traditional architecture.
Mm.
You know, if we have a proper understanding of traditional architecture, we can relate it to we can relate it to modern architecture. And in the manner that modern architecture has developed, we can also develop Nigerian architecture, you know, using the same mode of development. You know, for instance, modern architecture did not just happen overnight.
Mm.
It was a combination of some theoretical positions, you know, as well as practical positions.
Mm.
You know, in the same manner, we have our traditional architecture. We can look at it from the theoretical as well as the practical.
Mm.
You know, the theoretical would probably emanate from the socio-cultural factors of the Nigerian life. You know, these socio-cultural factors will then be able to give back to a form that is not completely unrelated from previous traditional works of traditional builders.
Wow.
You know,
Yes, sir.
so and I've always said that the evolution of Nigerian architecture is not for the fickle mind.
Mm.
It's not for the fickle mind. It has to be for the bold, creative mind. You know, and this ability to be able to develop form from theoretical positions. You know, yeah.
All right, sir.
And this theoretical, yeah.
Okay, sorry.
And like I said, these theoretical positions emanate from socio-cultural ways of living.
Thank you very much for that response, sir. I have a question here. Sorry, guys, if I don't get to pick all your questions. There are lots of questions coming in. I find this question really interesting from iBooksin. What do you say to architects that hoard knowledge from younger architects?
Oh, that's very disastrous.
Mm.
Absolutely disastrous. To hoard knowledge, you know, in fact, hoarding anything can be disastrous.
Mm.
And that is, again, the pain of the Nigerian society too.
Mm.
Our traditional, our traditional medicine people, they hoard information, thereby stealing, stealing innovations, for instance, in traditional medicine. What is known by your father, by the father, they don't want to pass it on to the son, for instance. That kind of thing. I think we have to be very careful about hoarding information. It's not a good thing. It never allows for progress.
Wow. Because I think just to shed more light on this, some of us, there are some iconic buildings that we actually celebrate in Nigeria, but it's really hard for us to access details of some of these buildings, and it's kind of like affecting the young architects or student architects in the higher institutions. So I believe, like you said, that hoarding of knowledge kills innovation, and I think that's I just go with what you have to say, sir. Okay, another question: why the misuse of some architects? Oh, no. Um, okay, how do we improve the
No, you
use
are
of
talking,
local
let's
materials?
even look at this idea of iconic buildings.
Okay, sir.
We are talking about access to iconic buildings and so on.
Floor plans and the like, sir.
Yes, I think it's very important to be able to get access. I was even thinking at one time, and I think it was quite important to me at that time that you don't have students who live in isolated parts of the country, and who have secondary schools and university buildings in such areas. And you have the students who go through the primary school, the secondary school, the university within this kind of environment where you don't have iconic buildings, you know. So how do they exercise their imagination? How do they activate it? If they don't have access to this kind of structures and so on. And that is why the idea of, educational tour became very important to me. People should be able to move on. Even if you have a school located within an isolated area, it should still be possible for the students to be able to go on educational tours to areas where you have all these iconic buildings, and then expose them to this type of building. It is going to activate their imaginative process too.
Wow. Thank you very much for that, sir. Okay, this question from Ayo 2010. He says, how do we improve the use of local materials in design?
How do we improve the use of local materials? By research and by experimentation.
So I believe
I think that research and experimentation is that's how we can improve the use of traditional materials. Although it is true that some traditional materials lack structural stability, or they do not meet all the requirements for the solid building. Where we have situations like that, research and experimentation can allow us to spend in our otherwise weak materials. But there are certain materials that are not just for structural purposes. They are for decorative purposes and so on. If you can use these decorative materials, in our interior design, for instance, I think it will be all right. I think so. But if traditional materials do not seem to have as much prospect in present day building as modern materials do. When we talk of modern materials, in any case, we are talking of these traditional or naturally occurring materials that have been strengthened,
Mm.
through the use of some other materials, like concrete, for instance,
Mm.
cement and mud, for instance.
Mm.
You know, but if you say you want to use mud alone, of course, it has some structural limitations. But if you can combine the two, if you can't use traditional materials structurally in certain areas, you can use it for decorative purposes.
Exactly.
And yes, give the building the Nigerian character.
Mm. All right, sir. Thank you so much for that, guys. We have just some few minutes. Once the session ends, we have just three basic important questions that we must not miss. We have to ask about. The first one is um, architects that inspired you while you were coming up. We need to, there's a strong belief that in architecture, you cannot just become an architect on your own. There is always a bonding and a connection with a mentor, a role model. So would like to know that. But shortly, the session might be going off. I might have to come back online, guys. Just in the next 5 to 7 minutes, we are done with this session, sir. So, but sir, you can go on with that question, sir. The architects
Okay,
that
let me go
inspired
with
you
that.
while you were coming up.
Yeah. Okay, I think very quickly, my mentor uh, is my brother, or was my brother.
Wow.
My brother, E.A Adeyemi, was one of the earliest qualified architects in the country.
Wow.
He trained in England,
Wow.
and I was more in the areas of the art. And when I finished my secondary school education, I had the intention of going to the upper point and getting a BA or whatever, because I was good in the written, uh, the written stuff, that kind of thing. But when he came back from England, I had just finished my secondary school education, and in a way, I had some idea. Well, I was an artist, so to say. We had an art, group, and I belonged to this group. When he saw my drawings, my paintings, and so on, he said, "Look, you must do architecture."
Wow.
So I had to leave what I was doing, where I was teaching in Ikere, ATT. I had to drop all that I was doing and followed him to Lagos and, stayed with him. I more or less studied him. You know, he was taking me to his office. He was also asking me to take some drawings to the planning office and so on for approval and so on. I was doing some tracing of drawings and all that.
Wow.
He exposed me to all the trivialities and the all the various aspects of architecture, architectural drawing and so on. So he advised me to now look for federal government scholarship to study architecture in Zaria, which I did, and I succeeded in securing the scholarship.
Wow. Wow.
So he has been my mentor. I was always with him on my holidays and so on. He was available. I was listening to him whenever I was talking with his clients. I was always around, that kind of thing. So I take him, so to say.
Wow.
So that way, he became my mentor in everything.
Okay, sir.
It could have happened somewhere, with a different family, but I think in my own case, I was just lucky that I had such a brother who eventually became my mentor, my everything.
Wow.
He's dead now.
Wow. I will ask the question again for the audience to hear the question again, sir. The question is, your biggest challenge, the biggest challenge you faced as an architect while coming up, and how you overcame, sir?
Okay, my biggest challenge, I can't remember as a student. I can't remember having much challenge because I was introduced into architecture early.
Wow.
When I got to the School of Architecture, I was one of those few students who knew what they were doing
Wow.
right from the word go. Right from the word go, I knew what I was doing. Um, some people, in fact, a lot of people don't know what architecture is all about.
Hmm.
They only knew that architecture is lucrative, that people make money, and they just went into it without realizing what it takes. But I knew this earlier on, in the days that I was with my brother. So I knew what I was going for. So I was prepared for the challenges. So, and this probably reduced the challenges that I could have had, because I knew where I was going, Yeah.
Okay.
So I didn't have much challenge.
Wow.
The only challenge that I had was that maybe occasionally people think I was overconfident.
Okay.
For instance, my teacher, one or two of my teachers probably felt I was too confident and wanted to destroy his confidence.
Wow.
But I refused to give up. I refused to give up to the extent that I had to lose. Well, I didn't lose a year. The arrangement was such that I could lose a year, but I refused to.
Wow.
Even at that time, even if I had to do 2 years in a year, because I had an understanding head of department who saw my work, my design work, and felt there was no way I could have failed the intermediate RIBA.
Wow.
Which was then held in Zaria. And because if you fail design, you failed everything.
Wow.
So I passed everything and failed design, which should have been the other way around.
I can relate to that.
And I was shocked. I said, how could I, because we had design examination.
Wow.
How could I fail design work while passing all the other theoretical papers?
Wow.
So my head of department allowed me to repeat the design for the year.
Wow.
And allowed me to move forward into the final year.
Wow.
To do my theoretical work.
Wow.
So I did all my theory, and then repeated 4th year design and 5th year design.
Wow.
So I was doing 2 years of design work.
Wow.
In 1 year.
Wow.
That was the challenge.
Cool.
But I made it.
Wow, that's great.
I made it, and didn't miss a year at all.
Wow.
People were surprised.
Wow.
I was superhuman.
Yes. Yes. Oh, this is really. I might have to ask this one last question again. Sorry, it's still relating to some. So did you at any point work with some internationally recognized architects, or at some point, even as regards role models now, not even mentors? Did you have some foreign architects that you looked up to while? Because I don't know. I know Frank Lloyd Wright must have been thriving while you were also coming up back then. I don't know how things were, sir.
Oh, Frank Lloyd Wright was my man.
Wow.
He was my man. He was my mentor. His organic architecture. I loved him.
Wow.
I loved him. I really loved him, and I imitated him.
Wow. Wow, sir.
I really loved him.
Yes, sir.
He was my mentor, apart from my my local mentor. He was my foreign mentor.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
He was my foreign mentor.
Wow. Wow.
It's what an architect should be.
Wow. Wow.
And when we are talking of creative design and so on, and when we are talking about architectural ideas, yes.
Wow.
Oh, it was fantastic.
Wow. Wow.
And I had the opportunity of going to his place in America, in the US.
Wow.
I went to his, there was a museum that was reserved for him, where they showed his work and so on.
Wow.
And I was there.
Wow.
Yes, and that confirmed my love for him.
Wow. 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 That's really amazing. That's really amazing.
Yes, thank you, right.
Yes, sir. Okay. Our parting question is, what is your advice? As young minds, we are the future of the practice of architecture in Nigeria. If the practice of architecture in Nigeria is going to take a better form, a better shape, it all lies or depends on how we take the bull by the horns. So, sir, what's your final advice? Your advice to us young architects, sir?
Well, I've always said this, that you get in architecture what you put into it.
Mm.
You get in architecture what you put into it.
Mm.
And that is the truth of the matter. If you are lazy, you are going to get lazy results.
Mm.
But if you are hardworking and persistent, you will have beautiful results.
Mm.
That is the idea that is the advice that I have for the young people. Try and put in as much as you can. Put all your energy, all your strength, all your aspirations, put it in architecture, and you'll be surprised the results that you get. But if you are the lazy type, always postponing, okay, please let it wait for now. No, you won't make it. You won't make it.
Thank you so much.
That's my.
Thank you so much, sir. So we have actually come to the end of this amazing session. I believe we've all had one or two things to learn. It's a lot to take in. Baba was as professional and he spoke as a wise man, and there were a lot of coded messages. Some he was explicit enough in explaining, and if you need to watch this again, you have to follow us on YouTube, Official Pulcher. Just try to search it out on YouTube. Better still, if you don't get to find it out on YouTube, you can drop a comment or send a direct message to the Official Pulcher group page on Instagram, so we can send you a direct link. Sorry guys, I'm seeing the questions. Well, if you can search Baba out on Google, definitely I believe some questions relating to marriage and notable buildings too. I believe you will be able to get some of these questions well answered there. Guys, thank you so much for making this a success, for making this really worthwhile. Everyone that came in online, we really do appreciate, and we'll say let's do this more, let's make the practice and perception of architecture in Nigeria great. The spotlights will definitely be on us someday, and we have our roles to play, and leveraging on the knowledge of founding fathers like this would actually help us go a long way when the spotlight gets to be on us. So please let's work together. And also we have quite a number of series that we have put in place. This is more like the back to the root. It's very important, and it's expedient we have a strong bonding or connection with our roots. So and Baba is over 80. I think Baba is 83 years old, and for us to have someone like this, someone of this caliber, come in on this this live webinar session, it's something worth it. So we'll be having some fathers, some veterans in the industry, and hopefully let's all connect. And we'll also have another session that actually relates or relays with the future of architecture. That's where you have the modern architects, those that are into digital innovations and the parametricism and the Zaha Hadid kind of futuristic designs. Yeah, and also we would also have a session that covers the modern day practice. I think it's good we actually bring architects that are actually thriving in the industry on board to our webinar sessions, where we get to ask live questions. And also, we thought about this, and I believe you guys will like this amazing idea. We would also be having a webinar session with artisans. Yeah, because we all have one complaint or the other. We would say artisans have problems. Artisans too will say that architects, we have our own problems. So we need to also hear what their own take is as regards, and also other professionals in the industry. So guys, thank you so much for making this a success. Let's do this one more time. Did I just say one more time? We'll keep on doing this. We'll not fail you guys, okay? Thank you for the encouraging words and the support.